liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews, your one-stop shop for in-depth commentary and discussion on the Star Wars books that came out today, or in one case, one that came out last month, but we'll get into that. It is Wednesday, January 15th, 2025. It's the third week of comics in this brand spanking new year of 2025. Hope it's shiny. We'll see. There was a ceasefire announcement in the Middle East, so there's that. I'm Matthew. He's Chris. Chris, how are you doing this week?
Well, I managed to get my bucket of bolts through the Kessel Run in time for the podcast tonight. So I gotta love feeling like Han Solo when you have a 20-plus-year-old car that you sometimes have to hit a certain way to get going. So I'm happy I'm here tonight because we have some good stuff to talk about, from TV series to penultimate issues of maxi series and everything in between. So I'm hyped, and I also have a show and tell tonight that applies to this very show. I did not even mention that until now, so you're even going to be surprised about this.
I have no idea what you mean, so there we go. I honestly don't. That's great. I'm here for surprises. Also to say, my internet's back. I'm gonna fight with the telecom. There are two, at least in Ontario, there are two major telecom companies. They basically have a what's the equivalent of a monopoly, but with two. Hopefully that's changing, but anyway, for the meantime, finally, I don't know, we're just talking about politics these days. It's Iron Canon is what we do. Tractor, we do that a little bit as well. But yeah, so internet is back. Hopefully for the flagship, it'll head out tomorrow night as well, if Dom's popping on. So yeah, check that out. Get some plugs out of the way before we dive in. We are, of course, proudly on the Star Wars Underworld podcast network, as you see right here, and down in the description below you'll have a link to the Discord server. In the Discord, we chat about all things Star Wars, all things Marvel, bit of Star Trek, mostly Marvel, a lot of DC, I think, but I kind of ignore that because it's DC. wah, shots fired. And just general nerdery. I know there's a celebration prep little thread there, and just different things. So yeah, please do check that out. I know this Friday they're having a movie night. I believe they're doing a Treasure Planet, so I think they'll tell you when to sync up and just go into the voice chat and check that out. So that's always a fun time in Discord. Again, I keep saying this, but kudos to Ben and Joel and everyone else who's really active in the Discord server. So if you want to join the fun, if you're going to be a decent human being, all opinions, all honest opinions, Star Wars opinions are welcome, and just content fandom opinions are welcome. But be kind, be engaging, and all that. Check that out down below. Also on socials, definitely we're on socials. Follow my sort portion of things. On Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at IonCannonPod, EYEONCANONPOD, and IonCannon.bluesky.social at IonCannon on Blue Sky, and you can follow Chris on Twitter. You're just on Twitter for now, right?
Yeah. I'm on Twitter. I have an Instagram, but I don't promote it because I'm never on there. It's just a platform for my significant other to send me random videos all the time that I have to catch up every morning with breakfast on. So,
could be worse. Could do worse. There we go. Yeah, but Twitter at StarRaptor, StarRapter, and YouTube.com/StarRaptor, where you have your. I just noticed you have your recap review of Last Stand number 3 already up there. So please do check that out. I believe the links are in the description below as well. Lastly, last plug, if you prefer audio only versions of podcasts, which the original format for podcasts, right after this episode, right after we're done, I will throw this guy up upon Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So just search Tractor Beam Comics Reviews. Link also in the description below. If you if you need to find it there. Yeah, and if you're listening audio only or on video and YouTube later on, please do let us know. Let us know on socials. Let us know in the comment boxes. Always happy to get feedback of what people prefer, what the people like, what the people enjoy. So there's the plugs. We'll pick those back up at the end as usual. But for now, let's dive right in to there was this little screen show called Skeleton Crew that has taken everyone by storm and everyone by surprise. Maybe not everyone, but people who knew how great it would be. It's done for now, as far as we know. Episode 8, The Real Good Guys. So Chris, I'll throw it to you. 24 hours later, how are you feeling about the Skeleton Crew finale and the series as a whole?
Yeah, I'm feeling I'm kind of on two notes with this. I'm feeling really good for Skeleton Crew as a series. Like, I mean, they really brought it home. Every episode really mattered. And sometimes we get, the Mandalorian even has episodes where you're like, oh, that was a waste of a week in a way where it wasn't as good as I wanted. But no, every single episode was fantastic. It really did well with bringing everything home. Getting the kids home and dealing with the pie. We're not really doing spoilers, right? Or are we?
Well, 24 hours later. We do spoilers for the comics. Let's do spoilers for the show.
All right, cool. So
spoiler alert now. Go.
Spoiler now. So I really liked where the characters ended up. You get to see Jod, who I assume is just going to surrender and be in prison. And then you have the kids such as like Wim, who is looking up at a bright future, whether it be an X-Wing pilot or maybe he'll just, find some Jedi temple led by a Skywalker. But there's this big ramification of the entire planet being unveiled to the galaxy, right? This whole idea of this show started off pretty small scale, and then it ends off in a very spectacular way. It gave me such good ET vibes, when they're on the speeder bikes, they're racing through. It's just this really good action sequences. The pirates storming through, like there's just really good tension with Jod and the kids up in the tower. So much good stuff. Every kid had a role to play in this battle, whether it be Neil with the gun, whether it be Fern, just discussing and trying to hold Jod at bay. You got Wim and his father working together, which is really cool. You even see a bright moment where the father is actually like kind of having fun for the first time you see him in his life. And, and then even KB with being brave enough to pilot that ship on her own with 33 to get the message out to the New Republic. So there is so much good stuff that all came to fruition. And honestly, it's hard. It's rare that we see that in Star Wars series these days. And we were all kind of waiting on bated breath, like, are they going to close it? Are they going to actually pull this off? And they did. Now, my big negative is, all right, so how does this connect to the Mandalorian? Or where does this go? I feel like there should have been like one more scene. All I needed was one little scene of Jod or of what the heck the planet's going to do with the money, who is on the blockade runner. I just wanted like one little connection to the Mandoverse. That would have made me happy. I don't know if they got gun shy at the end, thinking, maybe we won't want to do that because we're not going to get a season 2. These characters are not going to be anything else. Maybe we should just stay away from it. But it just kind of is interesting, like in retrospect, like why was Jon Favreau even on this show to begin with? Because it is far separated. But as for a show itself, it is the most far flung from any Star Wars series ever. There's like one connection, the whole series, and that's this random pirate guy, which I am so shocked this film let them make the series and it to be so encapsulated in its own self. So really did enjoy it. Fantastic. What did you think?
Yeah, I gotta say, with the possibility of having a bump of a canon connection, honestly, I didn't feel like I needed it. I think the X-Wings themselves were enough. There's the feel of seeing the X-Wings as the authorities. They're as the good guys, oddly enough, the pirate busters. Whereas 5-6 years ago, as we're going to talk about in a few minutes, a little bit down the way, they're the ragtag. They're accused of terrorists, being a terrorist, and so the fact that they're the ones swooping in to take care of business, that to me was just enough to say that the setting, the world building was there. I do see what people mean in terms of, okay, let's have some sense, just a little hint, just a little bump or whatever at the end, like at the end of Acolyte with the Yoda ears or whatever, that just that much people probably would have preferred. But yeah, then people will be like, well, where are these characters now? Why didn't they pick that up? This, that, and the other. I think I think we will see these characters again. I don't know about season 2, but in some other medium also possibly, I mean, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money on this planet now that everyone knows about it. Clearly the New Republic is going to want to control those assets, but there's a lot of folks who want to get their hands on it as well. I do think Jod's going to find a way to escape, frankly. He has the smirk as the ship goes down with Jill White, Steve Urkel goes down and as the smirk, and he's like, okay, well, maybe he's going to try and feign innocence or swim his way out of things. I think the main reason why we'll see these characters again is because they're so good and so well written, like the kids especially, and so well written, and because it's so popular, the show, I think, at least from what I gather, the buzz around this show, this is so weird. It earned it just by being good. Lucasfilm didn't do much, and imagine if they had, it would have probably taken over this whole corner of storytelling. But they didn't do much, and I used to make jokes about that. But now that the series is done, it's like, okay, or the season is done at least. It's like, okay, they really did a bang up job, and what what do I say? The most fundamental thing about storytelling is set up and payoff. And you set things up, you plot things through, and then you pay them off. And so the reason why a lot of the things that people could predict about, say, the supervisor being a droid, or about even the veil being taken out and different things, it's because they set that up so well and they seeded that in so well. And these themes about throwing off the control of an oppressive system or just a confining system, those themes are just set up so well in the way these kids come together to look within themselves and look to each other to actually explore and question and step out into a larger world. And so all of that to say then is this is quintessential Star Wars. This is what goes back to 1977. Luke looking on the twin suns, saying there's got to be more than this, and then he ends up going out and seeing, oh, there's more than this. And it's not all fun and games. It's scary adventure. It's adventure, but it's scary and threatening, and you actually have to be responsible. It's not yes, it's the fun, playful joy that is very much there. It's also the serious, dark, got to be smart, got to hold your own and hold your wits about you, and you have to do it by being part of a team. And so Wim looking up at those X-wings, I mean, that's just a continuation. I mean, that to me felt a lot like Broom Boy in so many ways. It was the same kind of deal and kind of thing of, now that this is over, well, in Broom Boy's case it wasn't over, but inspired to really join the galaxy as a whole. And so even just this episode that they're able to come together to, like you said, have a part in this plan, and actually pull off. These kids have become super competent. Sure, I mean, I think there's something about Ad-Atten that makes them super competent. Probably my favorite moment of storytelling in this episode is with Fern looking at Jod, because you could just like how last week, talking about Jod's backstory, Jod's being, we thought we'd get flashbacks, but we didn't get flashbacks. All we got was Jod yelling at Wim for having such a cushy, easy childhood. That tells us that Jod had not a cushy, easy childhood. Here we have Fern looking up at Jod, and I forgot the actor's her name, but
Ryan something.
Yeah, her performance sells us on the threat that this character represents, and it sells her mom on the threat that this character represents, and so we really feel the dire stakes in that moment, and so that just exemplifies everything that this show has done. It's the most, Mandalorian has 3 seasons, so it has a lot more. This in these 8 episodes is the most coherent and consistent, well plotted out live action show that Lucasfilm has done. Probably overall, I mean, I just love Clone Wars so much, but it's definitely the most consistent. Yeah, I think, and it's the one that really earns being a show and not necessarily a movie, and so that's credit to it. Credit to Skeleton Crew. I know you're gonna have lots more to say on other transmissions and different places, but any last thoughts on this one before we move on?
Yeah, I'd say it's a really good kind of, I said again, kind of a story in a place and time that really works well. I don't know how they could ever continue a season 2. Sure, they can make new adventures, but I think that the part of the charm was just the idea of the story is over now.
Yeah.
They got lost from the planet. They get back to the planet. They're back with their parents. It's like they're too young to join a New Republic to be soldiers or something, right? So, how could they really get involved with like the threat with Thrawn or something like, right? So it seems like ultimately they've talked about this, John Watts and Christopher Ford, like if they're going to make a season 2, they'd be basically teenagers at that point.
Yeah.
And then they could have more luxury of like dealing with more complex stuff, because right now the story, it's not like, left on a cliffhanger and we got to save the planet. No, like the planet's been saved. It's part of the wider galaxy now. Mm-hmm. Like it's really hard to even think of like any way they can continue it right now. Now, what they could do is they could have Dark Horse Comics do continuing stories of these characters, so they're immortalized. They don't have to worry about, in this medium that's so great that we're talking about every week here, they don't have to worry about voice actors. They don't have to worry about people getting older. They could just immortalize these kids on that. And what's the aftermath now? Let's see what's going to go on. What's going to go on with the money? What's going to go on with Jod? They could continue the storyline in the books.
Yeah, that's a great point. Daniel Jose Older, I guess he's going to be done High Republic soon. So, why not? I mean, I do think they're likely to show up in the Filoni movie.
I've seen rumors that they are, so I don't know how credible those sources are, but that's what I've seen so far.
But they'll be older, so they'll be and probably experienced and probably, I mean, that's the thing with Wim. Now that the whole system and structure is being revamped and has been dismantled, he's now free to go and learn how to be a pilot, learn about the wider galaxy more. You're right, he's only a kid, so there's only so much that he can do, but I mean, again, they showed just how capable even these kids are, which is wild. So looking forward to lots of conversations about this show down the line. Who knows? Yeah, you're right. Who knows what kind of announcements about Celebration we'll have? I can definitely see a Dark Horse comic on this as well. So, all right, we do have some books to go into. Two stories to go into. One that came out a month ago. Came out over a month ago. But the reason we're talking about now is because there was a mail strike here in Canada, and so I didn't get it until in the issue of Insider until last week. But talk about High Republic: The Fate of Eriadu from Insider number 229. It was written by Lydia Kang and art by Jake Lunt Davies. And I think what it does, it's Fate of Eriadu catching up with the Adrens, and they've finally come back to Eriadu. And one thing that really strikes me is the way Lydia Kang's able to really evoke the sense of occupation by the Nile on this planet. Eriadu City even is just crawling with Nile. They're everywhere. These RDC folks, I mean, they're now behind the storm wall. They're in the occlusion zone, and they have to hide and have to camp out and figure out, okay, we're going to put the ship and we're going to repair the ship, and how we're going to raise this baby, taking care of Pika taking care of herself. Of course, Joss helping out too as much as he can. And then the other RDC folks. Oh man, I'm blanking on the name. So I don't know what's happening above me, but something going on. Basement apartment guys. The two RDC folks who were such at odds, just before. One of them was such a stickler for rules, very military, and the other was this researcher who was very timid and not planning at all of being up behind enemy lines. And they've come to a real place of respect for each other and collaboration. And so to see that having come full circle, the two of them can actually be part of this Republic operation on this planet. I think they're drilling or something. Bear with me. I'll mute when I'm not talking there. I don't know if you can hear that, but this operation that is hopefully going to undermine the Nile, and then of course Hedda Kassett's daughter showing up, which is another big full circle moment. Of course, the first character in the Higher Hell Republic that we ever meet is Captain Hedda Kassett, who is the captain of this ship that crashes into
the Legacy Run,
the great disaster. And here's her daughter helping out. The one thing, and this is interesting, kind of canon connection. When is this set? Speaking of DJO, we know that there are also Jedi going around, helping with the Tarkin family, or being in cahoots with some of the Tarkins. This is, of course, in the High Republic Adventures comic, trying to stave off this occupation by the Nile, but of course, trying to make do. So I was wondering, okay, are things that dire? And it just reminds us that there's only a handful of Jedi, and most of them are younglings or Padawans, and so there's got to be some link up there, but we just didn't necessarily get it in this book. But otherwise, yeah, I just enjoyed. I've definitely enjoyed all these Tales of the Occlusion Zone short stories. Oh, by the way, tangent side note, that's why I've been confused from Dispatches from the Occlusion Zone, the comic book, and Tales from the Occlusion Zone stories.
Very close time. Yeah,
I've gotten it straight. Lydia Kang has such a way of writing tone and the strain and the stress of being in this war. Thinking about everything on Corellia with Drigget and not Zavi, but the former Padawan part of Crash.
The Nile Padawan guy, Rue.
Yeah, Rue. Yeah, they're not Nile. They're or at least he's
the Nile disguise. Like
all that. Really great job of getting us into the mood, getting us into these undercover stories and these dire underdog stories of being in Tales from the Occlusion Zone, being our heroes. And Drigget is a hero. She's turning up heroic. Of course, the Adrens, and definitely the Adrens and the RDC folks are more heroic, but they're the underdogs, and they're the ones who have to are behind enemy lines, having to again undermine and be the rebels, if you will. So great job all around. Again, it came out a month ago, but what's your recollection of this story? What do you think of it?
Yeah, I thought you kind of hit the nail on the head with all the points I was going to make, as far as like setting the tone, setting the idea that they are an occupied Nile places and they have to work like underground. I like the idea that there is a bunch of these people that are the RDC are underground. They're kind of waiting for the moment to attack. And this is where it all started out, right? They started on Eriadu. It wasn't part of the Occlusion Zone at that moment. Yeah. And Ebby Cassette was the one that kind of gave them. They met her in the first short story, so it's all like coming around full circle, and it's really telling when they're traveling for months and months in space, and they've they've kind of run out of food at this point. I've been watching the series Shogun in my prep for Celebration to go to Japan, and these people, and they would travel around the world. The Portuguese and the Dutch, and they would actually go around South America through this certain way and passage, and half the time these people wouldn't have enough supplies, and they'd be half dead by the time they made it to Japan. So that kind of brought me memories to this. Is like, yeah, it's these, like, being in that little ship for that long and you're low on food, like, that's like hell. Like that is not a good situation to be in. So yeah, Lydia Kang does a great job. We got to get her to get another full-fledged novel again. I really enjoy her writing style for sure.
Yeah, I don't think she's tapped to write anything as far as I know, but yeah, be good. I mean, that's another shout out to say they're all these authors have other things outside of Star Wars to check out as well, which might be a good shout. Yeah, so the next one comes out March 25th, so we'll have a while. A lot of High Republic story to get through between now and then. So yeah, looking forward to keeping up with the Adrens. Again, hopefully there is some connection with what's going with the Jedi. The occupation of Bifrang. Because issues 14 to 17, the finale of High Republic Adventures is the Battle of Eriadu. And so it's this big set piece, just like the Battle of Jakku.
Yeah,
Battle of Eriadu. So, we're really. I keep saying this. We're coming to the end. We really get there. That's the thing about bringing these characters back. Bringing the Adrens back, right? The Adrens. Charles Soule, 2021. The Starlight Beacon stories, I forget what it's called. What they're called. That's the Adrens. That's them. And they of course show up in Light of the Jedi. They probably show up in Trials of the Jedi. Wouldn't surprise me. But here they are, of course, on Eriadu with Lydia Kang's tales, not dispatch, just tales from the Occlusion Zone. So, great writing all around. All right.
While we're in the High Republic, sorry to cut you off.
All good.
While we're in the High Republic, I think now is the best time to show off a brand new Black Series figure I got in the mail after several months, and that is a first High Republic freaking action figure. It took long enough. It took 4.5 years.
Yeah.
But we got there, everybody. I got a Master Vernestra Rowe. I got this. I seen this at San Diego Comic-Con on display. They ended up opening her up for pre-order, I think right after I got home, basically in July at some point, and I finally get it in January. So that's how the lead time is on these things. But it was one of those indescript packages. Like, I don't know if I have any new books coming. Oh, it's an action figure that I ordered from 4 or 5 months ago. Woo!
It's like a surprise, like a gift.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, it took 4 years. Took her being in a live action TV show. I have you can't see. I have Jord because of Jord. But no, do I have Jord?
Jord?
Yeah, I have Jord. And Dom has a bunch of them, but Vernestra. Give us. Come on, where's the Burry action figure? Where's my Wreath Silas action figure? Come on, sure they're customs. I know they're customs.
No. Where's the goo guy? What's his name again?
Oh yeah, Orlin. What they do, and it's you can go to the store and get silly putty. get like these gel balls. There's your Orlin.
That's the thing. I don't like the fact that you go back into the 90s and they have an entire run of expanded universe action figures by Kenner. It's like, Hasbro, what are you doing, man? Like, give the canon junkies like us something to shout from the rooftops about,
Yeah, to shout from the rooftops, right? I got the Chelly here, and I got the
I got
black,
the
Boba Fett there.
I got the cover of the Scar Squadron, and then that pops open. It's the figure.
Nice. Yeah, I should just unbox that Boba Fett. I gotta maybe get Steve McNiven to sign the box.
Ooh.
He'd do it. He's here. He's Toronto. I'm pretty sure. So I should. I mean, I got him to sign the cover, the actual cover, but yeah, I should get Stephen McDiarmid to sign the thing. Anyways, but yeah, I agree. High Republic. If there's anything publishing to do a Black Series line for, it would have been High Republic. Oh well, I mean, we've griped about Black Series. They have made a comeback. I do think they've made a big comeback. This is a tangent. We're on a tangent here. Black Series as a whole, in terms of its quality, I think they've frozen the price point. Has made a comeback, but yeah, there's still some things to make up for, sure. So I mean, I really want that Elzar lightsaber, or Elzar Stellan lightsaber that is now the Elzar lightsaber. But yeah, there. Anyways, are we good to move on? We get to dive into the one comic book that we had today, because there was a comic book today, believe it or not. We'll chat about it right now. It is continuing on the penultimate issue of Battle of Jakku. It's Last Stand number 3, written by Alex Segura, art by Jethro Morales, colors by Jim Campbell, letters by VC's Joe Caramagna, and cover by EM Gist. The Battle of Jakku unleashed. Luke must enter the Underworld to strike a deadly bargain. The Spice Runners of Kajimi play a deadly wild card with shocking consequences. As unseen forces move to disrupt the Battle of Jakku, the New Republic must fight a war on 2 fronts. Luke takes on the new threat directly, putting everything at risk. I've talked lots. I'm going to put you on the spot here. What do you think of this issue as a whole, or issue in particular in the story?
I'll tell you exactly like you told me. It was cinematic as all heck, man. This thing, I was home. I put on my Return of the Jedi soundtrack, or the soundtrack with the Battle of Endor going on. Yeah. Reading through these first opening pages, I just went, "Whoa! This is what you call a penultimate issue. This thing is really setting us up, getting us hyped, but actually not just set up. There's a lot of action. Some of the best space combat I've ever seen in a comic book. Like, this stuff is visceral. It's kinetic. It flows. It's like I'm imagining. I could see these ships flying around in my head as I'm reading through this thing, watching, looking. And I know you're happy about this because you ended up getting the whole acknowledgement of like the military getting
the Senate authorization. Yeah.
Yes, they got authorized to go start to attack. But the whole thing with Gallius Rax with his speech, and you're alluding to this earlier, where it's like, yeah, he's pinning them as the rebels constantly, like the terrorists. These guys are blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, this is the rabble rouser going through huge surprises, huge moments in this thing. Characters from interludes of past stories long not remembered at this point. At least I almost forgot about this character showing up out of nowhere, which is fun. But so many references, as our title suggests, like, oh my goodness, Phantom Squadron, Phoenix Squadron. We got all these different Blade Squadron from Star Wars Insider freaking magazine issues. Like, you can't tell this guy that he has not been paying attention to the canon. You can't. He has been doing the Force's work with pouring over all the different material and does a great job of just putting. We got Starhawks. Our first look at Starhawks, for goodness gracious. Like, this is so cool.
Yeah, well, and that speaks to what's amazing about getting a comic book of the Battle of Jakku, right? Because we have the Aftermath trilogy, we have Empire's End, we have that engagement, and everything with the pincer. It's not the pincer maneuver, but that final thrust that they are able to actually go land. We do have Battlefront 2, but that's mostly on the ground. They're able to get on the ground. Here, we have the actual space battle. We have the build up to the space battle. And yes, we've had that for 10 issues already. And this is the 11th issue of this. We've had all the political build up and the character build up, especially with Adelhard. And I'll get to him in a second. But here we have the actual, like I said, the Senate, like you said, the Senate authorization. They can go now. And I'll get to the canon connections in a minute. But the feel of this as, you have this first act of Akbar and Rax and everyone finally getting to Jakku and saying, and you have the squadron, the fighting. You could see it. I could hear their voices, the the tone and the delivery of pilots calling out and trying to cover each other, and mirror me, and what's his name, Yeager, mirror me, and I'm on your wing and on your flank, watch out, and all that. I think the partner, the explosion, the character dying, that we and her partner's able to seeing that and the tragedy of that. So it very much felt of a piece, like we're saying, cinematic, like Rogue One, like Return of the Jedi, like taking a page but translating him. And that's the amazing thing that Jeff Morales and Jim Campbell were able to do, especially, is just translate this into a static comic book. That's such a brilliant move on their part. Then also the bit with Luke going to the Spice Runners, and how turns out Rin is a Spice Runner, and building into the plan with the Underworld, and Adelhard and his arrogance thinks he's got the Underworld in his back pocket. And what I keep saying about this time period is, no, the Underworld is picking a side, and the side they're primarily picking is the Rebel Alliance at this point, right? They have to pick a side. They've picked the Rebel Alliance by and large. And yes, we have the Spice Runners. Tommaso, he's clearly amenable to what Luke is bringing, even though Luke's all, okay, we gotta go.
Yeah,
he's rightly getting the urgency of this, but he's also able to be there and listen to Rin and say, this is his thing. This is the character arc. I was talking about Wim and Luke, on Tatooine, and of course in Empire, he's all ready to gung ho and go to Bespin, which again was the right move. But here, if he hadn't gone to, hadn't listened to Rin, if he had gone straight to Jakku, he would have missed this whole chunk of these whole factions, or key strategic assets, key part of this coalition that the New Republic wants to build, with not so much those who are against the law, like you said, they're the pirate busters, like we said, but I think of Tonga and the Starhawk crew, for example, and how they're more heroic characters who they're not part of the Rebel Alliance, but they are trying to do some good in the galaxy, believe it or not. Here, clearly, the Spice Runners are trying to do some good in this galaxy, and so Zori Bliss has made overtures to the rest of the Underworld to say, there's this battle looming at Jakku.
Zeva Bliss.
Zeva Bliss, sorry, not Zori. Zeva Bliss. Oh, the Zori Bliss, she's a good character too. Her daughter. Anyway, Zeva Bliss. There's this. The battle is going to be at the Jakku, this final stand. Are you going to help the Rebel Alliance? Are you going to help the New Republic? Because they're actually you might be able to make a deal with them, or at least they're not the Empire, this evil oppressive Empire. And then the very last thing, panel shows up. This is the big one. Nobody could predict this one. Nobody could predict this. I love this so much. I envy the blessing of meeting me. Eliodi Marakavanya, the pirate king queen of the Underworld. Actually, here's the funny thing. I remembered them. I remember their character. Non-binary before we knew about they them pronouns. It was not very widespread, but Chuck Wendig putting this character in there as someone who has created this this flotilla, this Star Destroyer, Super Star Destroyer, this pirate kingdom, and has just come on and turn, and possibly is gonna, we'll see what happens, how with the influence of the Underworld in dealing with Adelhard. We know that the New Republic is focused on the Empire, the Imperial Remnant, and Rax in them. Here's the Underworld and everything with Luke going maybe to deal with Adelhard, and possibly, I don't know where the Acolytes of the Beyond are going to come down, probably with Adelhard or themselves, but it was such a great moment. Maybe before we get on to canon connections, I mean, what did you think of that moment? How did you feel about, especially everything with Luke and he gets up to, but then Eliodi Maricavagna, who is an all-around pain in the Chubbies.
Yeah, well, with the Luke stuff, I was there with Luke. I was like, "What are we doing here? Let's get Luke into the action. Come on, man! Like, Luke's been out on the side. I want to see his influence in the Battle of Jakku." We went back to the one story, like around the time of the Journey to the Last Jedi, the stories of Luke Skywalker, legends of Luke Skywalker, pulling Star Destroyers out of the sky with the Force, and I'm like, ooh, what is that? This could actually maybe not pull Star Destroyers, but see him on the surface in the sand, fighting along the New Republic shock troops and taking these guys. I want to see that. What is he doing over here? He's got to get off this jungle planet. Right? Yeah, it's important. Like he is going to have very valuable intel, as you put it, to then relay to the New Republic to kind of bolster their forces. But yeah, as far as the cliffhanger, man, oh man, that was way out of left field. I'm very curious to see, because I think the Ravager is the only super Star Destroyer at that battle that we know of in the Aftermath trilogy, as far as the Imperials having control of, right? I don't think there was more than one the Imperials had. That was like their big. That was like the big crisis. Is like, oh, this could turn the tide because they have a super Star Destroyer. How are their Starhawks going to be able to take this thing down? Or is some sacrifice by one of the officers? I remember that.
Yeah.
So yeah, now you throw this into the equation. It's like, ooh, this is going to be cool. I want to see how this coordinates with everything, and his little Star Destroyer Adelhard is not going to stand much of a chance against the full power of a Super Star Destroyer. And it's interesting. I think like the New Republic will probably end up giving the Pirates amnesty or some kind of like peace treaty to be like, hey, you guys can run around the Outer Rim. We're still trying to get our stuff together.
Yeah.
Just don't do anything crazy, and we'll let you do your stuff out there, whatever, like for helping them defeat the Empire here or something. Like they'll come up with something. The Spice Runners will be exempt from any kind of imprisonment or anything like that. They can go back to Kijimi, be there working with the people from what are they called? The people in the
Anzellans, little guys.
The Anzellans, but also from Star Wars Outlaws. You had the Sarko Plank people.
Sure.
Those guys. Yeah.
I don't know much. I haven't watched an Outlaws playthrough. Admittedly. It's okay. That's right. Anyway, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, it's like, oh, this is really cool. You got the third party in here busting in. Great stuff. You have the one character in a TIE fighter. She somehow saw a TIE fighter. I was thinking that she could take down the whole ship herself, kind of like Wedge or something. And it's like, Dak Rauter, take down the whole Empire myself. Just let's do this. And then you have Yeager. I mean, this is where I like the callback to earlier in the issue. I had a nice fist bump moment when Lando comes in with J. Eric Yeager flanking him with the X-Wings. And then it was also Preeti. And it was like, yeah, this is awesome, knowing that Lando was in the Lady Luck just flying around, taking out TIE fighters with Jarek Yeager in an X-Wing. Like, it doesn't get cooler than that, man. And then knowing that Wedge Antilles is out there leading Phantom Squad. Oh, man, so much good stuff in here. And it's only going to get better when Han Solo shows up in the Millennium Falcon, perhaps.
And that's a big part of the cinematic feel of this issue is all these squadrons, all these groupings, all these folks coming together, converging on this big battle that we know the stakes already of this battle. And so, like you say,
one other thing. Who's the operator?
So I think
that is, or I'm just did not see it, or what?
I was confused by that too. Is that a Republic spy, or is that a Republic spy?
Well, because whoever it was feeding information to the New Republic to get them there as a trap. So it's an Imperial, but I wonder who.
Yeah, I mean, here's an interesting theory. This is just this is completely random tangent. We'll get to talking about other canon connections. That couple that was on the Death Star, Death Star in Charles Soule's run. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here, but Maybe they are, I don't know, some sort of fulcrum kind of thing going on. We'll see. So definitely exciting cinematic battle issue with some great character moments. I want to talk a bit more about these canon connections because, like we've mentioned them quite a bit here already. Alex Segura having his eye on canon. This is the single most canon connected comic in this entire run, and I haven't had an issue with questions. Yes, some questions have come up. You mentioned the Senate authorization bit, right? And I've talked about this quite a bit, right? The drama of Empire's End is actually getting the Senate to say, yeah, let's go mobilize the fleet to Jakku because they have to authorize this, right? This is after the Empire. There has to be very strict civilian control, and then we have this line, got Senate authorization to launch the fleet, and that is all I needed. I did not need anything more than that, just to acknowledge the drama of this other story.
Yes.
If you want to go read the drama of this other, if you want to go read the drama about Mon Mothma and Villachem getting and I guess Akbar getting the authorization of the fleet to go to Jakku, go read this novel. Here you go.
Yeah.
There's that. Rax's speech is, from what I gather, I think Joel was mentioning this, word for word from the Aftermath novel.
Wow.
Empire's End, I'm fairly sure. Sloane's reaction to Rax. Sloane, we see, is on another Imperial facility or ship, and she's saying, "Oh, yeah, his whole motivation. This is his plan all along. He wants to destroy the Empire. He wants to." That's now all. We see this with Rax. It was a great moment. One of his underlings says, for the glory of the Empire. It's like, yes, for the Empire. Now that all the pieces are on the board, time to rally the troops. And the pieces on the board, namely Palpatine's plan to chuck all the pieces in the garbage because he died. Operation Cinder, right? Of course, the Battle of Jakku is meant to be the final piece of Operation Cinder. And so, definitely that. And then Sloane getting wise to it and saying, no, hold on a minute. This isn't right. This isn't what I signed up for. I still believe in an empire that can actually bring order and justice to the galaxy somehow. And so, the question that did come up last issue is here she is immediately saying, She's not on the same side as him. What I did find interesting with Rax is both Rax and Adelhard have completely turned against the Empire, of what the Empire was. Sloane is still one who, she also has the same, in Empire's End, I remember having the same sense that Rax doesn't represent the Empire as this source, the hope for order and justice. But Sloane still believes it is. Adelhard also doesn't believe the Empire is a source for order and justice, so he wants to replace it with his own. So you have Rax and Adelhard both trying to take everyone out. And it's only Sloane, in her own way, we know she's going to get onto the Eclipse and get out of Dodge. And the New Republic, who are the ones who actually want to come and create peace and justice in the galaxy and build some sort of order and political community in the galaxy, which they do their best. I think one thing, this is what, getting the fourth really strong canon connection is Eliodi himself coming in and being this connection. We saw this whole I envy the blessing of meeting me kind of thing. That's how they introduce themselves. Or supposedly that's the way they kind of have this very self-assured, let's say, way of talking about themselves. Should they really envy the blessing of meeting them? I don't know. Is that something to be envied? I don't know. But really, a really juicy character is what comes to mind. And we talk about, just getting back to my point before, with the Republic, the New Republic, we see it in The Mandalorian, 4 years later, they aren't really able to extend their influence far. The New Republic aren't able to extend their influence that far, so that a lot of these underworld groups, these pirate groups, these bounty hunters, they're free to do what they want. And even our hero, Din Djarin, is saying the New Republic is a joke. Now, of course, he meets characters like Carson Teva, who are very much not a joke. But that sense of, okay, where's the room for these underworld groups to operate? It'll be interesting to see the aftermath of the aftermath with that. I do wonder, what's the conversation if Eriadu and Mon Mothma have a conversation? Is Mon Mothma going to just be realistic and say, there's only so much I can do? Or is Mon Mothma able to see maybe a utility in having at least, the kind of the devil versus the devil you don't, or at least, a benevolent pirate going around, like we got Violet Valance in this. I don't know if he's going to be more in the underworld still. Probably Tonga and Lasha and them too. Yeah, what place of these folks are? It's a great question. So, all that to say, well, first of all, so I'll throw this to you. What do you think of just the canon connections and how well connected this comic was?
Yeah, it's not easy to do. There's a lot of things. We have Star Wars Squadrons, we have Battlefront 2, we have the Alphabet trilogy, we have the Aftermath trilogy. I might be missing something. Shattered Empire.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of content. Having to weave through Wikipedia and notes from Story Group had to be a bit of a headache at points, but I really think he did well with that. Now, including canon connections, maybe we should just let the viewers / listeners know what was Rax's plan. Actually, is he was going to detonate a giant bomb that would shatter the planet and destroy everything around it, right, in orbit.
I don't
Something
remember
like that, like
probably.
A megaton, like planet level explosion that would just encompass everything and wipe everything out. Basically, set the board clean. So that there'd be no military anymore because everybody was there, kind of thing. So that's like what Ray is like. Ray Sloan is going, oh crap! Like, let's not do that.
Right. And so this speaks to this. This is our time to. Okay, we need to have a talk, fandom, about this comic. I mean, when you're. Every story is written from a point of view, from a certain point of view. This is the thing, early Ion Canon 2021 was like, no, everything has to line up. I want everything to line up within paper, even with screen. I want screen stories to build on paper stories and whatnot, and they still can. We have Vernestra Row, but a novel written 10 years ago with all these details, focusing on this other angle, right? And these other characters who are doing this other thing, they have a limited perspective on what's going on. And Chuck Wendig is focused on having a specific perspective on what's going on. And he's lining up all his details and his facts, his plot points, to fit that angle of the story. Remember, this is fiction, folks. Alex Segura is writing this other angle of the story, in this other place, this other section with these characters who have experienced this much and know this much. Just because something super significant happens with, the pirate king queen person Eriadu coming in, either that's super significant, Adelhard himself coming into Jakku, just because Chuck Wendig didn't write that, didn't mention that, doesn't mean Alex Kerr is breaking canon. Even here's the thing, even if some little small things don't perfectly line up, right? These are fiction stories, we want things yet to tie together perfectly, but I used to get bent out of shape about these things. I don't
Same.
quite understand now, that everything has to perfectly line up. No, I'd say everything has to work towards the overall story and the thrust of the story. And the thrust of the story with Empire's End, really Rax is the main character, and Rax and Sloane. That's the heart of that story. That's the thing I remember, whatever, 7-8 years later, however long it was. And then, of course, I remember the drama to get this fleet mobilized. That Alex perfectly one line. Here's Matthew. Here's what you need. The fact that he got so many of these things to come together really makes it feel a piece with the Wendig story, while also saying no, he's focused on Luke and Mon Mothma and Leia and maybe Han a little bit and Kijimi and with the Spice Runners and Adelhard. This Adelhard's been this big bad. Adelhard was he even? I guess he has one little mention in Life Debt, right? In the Bespin thing. God save thing. He's the big bad of this comic, and he's a brilliant big bad. And so everything, especially with Luke, is going to be focused on him and everyone else, with the Acolytes of the Beyond, which do come from the Aftermath trilogy. The fact that they show up and they wreak so much havoc, it shows just how important they are in what Chuck Wendig laid down. And everything that Chuck Wendig laid down as important shows up in this comic because it's important. Because it's important to this overall Star Wars story. It's just that Alex Segura is putting a different spin a little bit, but showing a different angle. It's just these are two different stories converging on Jakku. And it really, again, like you said, it's so hard to do. So many different moving pieces, so many different materials, so many different things. The fact that he did these 4 specific things, again, shows how important they are to the story, the overall story, and shows how much Alex is paying attention to the fact that these are important to the overall story. And so I think we need to, I don't want to like say someone's just being a dumb or being a bad fan, but I think I disagree. This is a problem with this comic book. I think it's actually of great strength that he was able to write. He's able to write such a different angle and avenue and lane in this story that contributes to the overall story in such a significant way. Of course, now that we've gotten it, it's 10 years later. So, I'm here for it. I don't know if you have anything to respond on that one.
Yeah, well said. I certainly agree with you on this. To disagree with the people out there that aren't super happy with this. When it comes down to this, let's say it's been over 10 years. Over 10 years. I think the story group has done a really great job at making sure the writers and the creatives are keeping things as intact as without stepping on other stories' toes as possible. They have done a wonderful job. Now, yes, go to animation. There's some things that don't line up with a comic book. Big deal. They end up at the same points anyway. I was also like you, Matthew, 3 years ago going, that's not lining up. It's terrible. It's terrible.
It's a bad batch, right?
Yeah, something like that. And it's just like, when it comes down to it, it's the end goal. It's the story that they're currently telling. Yes. They're not going to try to retrace all these things with Rax and Ray Sloan. If you want to read that stuff, Chuck Wendig has an entire Aftermath trilogy. It's not worth getting bent out of shape because, this character wasn't exactly here at this point in time. Their fate is not completely rewritten where they're suddenly dead. They're suddenly working for the Empire and they're a rebellion officer. It's not. It's like it's very nitpicky stuff. Yeah. I gotta admit, sorry people, it's really nitpicky, and it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. Like this is This is this guy's story. He wants to tell it. It's not, crushing your story you enjoyed 10 years ago. It's all over. That's been done. Let's get this new perspective. You have the battle to end all battles at one planet. There's literally thousands of ships. So what if one ship that we didn't get the angle on shows up?
Yeah.
I'm sure Alex is going to explain it better next week. And that's another thing, right? This is not like it's a novel that came out and it's done over. People are critiquing this thing like in the middle of it still coming out on a week-to-week basis. So next week we can go more into depth if we need to with the last issue, but it's also worth saying that, it's not over yet. So we don't know what's in store. It could have glaring canon problems next week, but right now these are like the really little things that in the larger scope, the common fan is going to have no problem with.
Yeah. I think, and just thinking back to, May 4th, 2021, whatever it was, watching the Bad Batch, like, oh, that's not Caleb's story. Oh no, that's taken away from Caleb's story, whatever, and to say, okay, understanding my reaction, I love that canon comic, right? I think we all do. The two hang together, and the two can mutually reinforce each other. Yeah. The theme is the same.
The theme, that's important. Yeah, the theme, it feels the same.
Yeah, the feels the same. But even with this, especially, these two paper stories, again, I think, Alex clearly cares to have things lined up. He cares to be contributing to this story that Chuck Wendig wrote and plotted out with the story group, I'm sure. He clearly cares. And I think he's actually made the Aftermath trilogy better by, again, emphasizing the things, helping us appreciate the things that really are at its core, again, with Rax and Sloan, having them show up as much as they do, but also then saying, okay, yeah, here is what our big three, our major screen characters are doing during this time. Now, we know, oddly enough, Han, he gets a lot in Life Debt. Leia and Mon Mothma get a lot in Life Debt too. Definitely that's another thing. A lot of this comic really presupposes knowing what happened in those novels and remembering what happened in those novels. I think if I had one criticism, it relies maybe a little too much on that, and maybe could show us a little more and remind us a little more. But it's only 12 issues, and it went going by so fast. We'll have more to say next week about the run as a whole, but I'm already very happy, very satisfied. I really hope. I know you're with me here, Chris. I'm really, really hope he gets to keep writing Star Wars. I hope take the main line, take the main run. That's great. That's fine. I hope you're in Tokyo there in Chiba, and he's coming out on the comics, the Marvel Comics panel, and saying, "Yeah, Star Wars #1, written by me." Hopefully with Jethro Morales and Jim Campbell doing the work there. So
yeah. So for next week, I really expectations, or not expectations, because I don't need these to happen, but I hope we kind of resolve the battle in the first half of the issue. Yeah. And we get like a nice big epilogue, like, oh, we get to maybe see Ray Sloan going on the Ravisher. We get to see Adelhard take his piece of the galaxy and escape to be the next villain in the next phase of the mainline series. We get the confirmation of what the heck Marvel keeps teasing with this first time, like, historic. They literally said first. Look at the back of the book, folks. Yeah. It's first historic appearance of a legendary character. I'm like, whoo, this is gonna be one for the ages, and it better not be a baby Ben Solo. I really hope it's not.
Well, that's not like we've gotten him already. We got Menfo. Oh yeah. Historic character makes their first appearance in comics ever. Interesting.
Oh, so it can't be him because he's been in his own miniseries.
Yeah. Ben Solo, who's been there. So, although again, Ben Solo, great marker of time, as I mentioned before. But yeah, so yes, all that saying, yeah, next week, Battle of Jakku, Last Stand, number 4, and we'll look back on the 12-issue run, even on the release schedule, right? I mean, weekly comic release. It's been interesting. It's been different.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll look back. Joel's going to join us for that if he is available. And so yeah, we'll chat all about Battle of Jakku. And your Last Stand, we'll do the usual. What do you think of this issue? What do you think of how this thing finishes? Then we'll look back on the whole run. I'll hopefully have time to do some more extensive notes on that. But yeah, I think that about does it. Unless you have any last thoughts on issue number 3, or Last Stand number 3, before we get to the plugs.
It's just been great as a Star Wars fan, getting a finale to a series this week, and then getting a finale to a maxi comic book series next week. Everything is in line. What a great time to be a Star Wars fan, especially if you're into the comics and the series. So it's been good.
Yeah. Another thing this comic has done, it's really given us a sense that there's some great things on the way. We didn't know what it was. Now we really have a sense of.
Oh yes.
Yeah. What's coming?
The other big teaser better be addressed. It was in bold in issue number, I don't even know anymore. Yeah. But the whole thing with Ballard Valance going, oh yeah, that the problems with those things out there in the Outer Rim or whatever it was, he said unknown regions. I'm like, and it was bold. Like, come on here, what's going on over there? Yeah. Maybe that's what they're pointing to. The leader of the Yuzon Vong. I don't know.
That'll be something. You never know. I guess they haven't been in comics yet, have they? That's interesting. You never know. I mean, there's Legacy of the what's that novel series called again?
Oh, Vector Prime,
or the whole series. What was it called?
Oh, the New Jedi Order.
Yeah, New Jedi Order. I keep blanking on the name. There's a whole. Joel was talking about this whole documentary.
I've seen that. Well, I seen it was coming out or something. Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, people been wanting the Vong for a while. Interesting. I mean, interesting. They all have to put a new spin on it, on them, for them to not be the Borg or something. But there's another Star Trek reference for you. Get the kind of ding. But who knows? Who knows what it is? Might be something entirely different. Who knows? So, looking forward to, this thing. I mean, I will say it. It's not that I'm looking forward to this thing being done, but just like Skeleton Crew, I'm looking forward to it. It's done well. It's been the appropriate length for this story, which maybe. I mean, I think a little short, but it's coming to a very strong conclusion. Yeah,
I've already made the recommendation to my one buddy at work who casually reads. Well, I can't call him a casual reader because he is reading like the whole chronology of High Republic.
Sure. Yeah.
But he has read the War of the Bounty Hunter series in preparation for the Star Wars Outlaws game. Yeah. And I already told him, like, hey, whenever you get done High Republic, like, you got to put this on your list because by the time you finish that, I think he's in phase 2 now. I said, by the time you finish this, they'll probably have an omnibus or the Epic collection comprising all 12 issues. I said, you should put this on your list because it's going to matter. If there's like really good stuff with Luke and Han and Leia and the rest of the galaxy in this run. So
it's been announced, the trade paperback. It's only 12 issues, so it won't be that long. June 3rd.
Whoa.
2025.
That's awesome.
But also your local comic book shops possibly will have back issues, have single issues. They're all available on digital, except for Last Stand 4. But everything that's come out already is also available on digital. So if that is more your speed, check it out. But yeah, please do support your local comic book shop, and pick up issue number 4, issue number 12 of the Battle of Jakku, Last Stand number 4, which we'll talk about next week. All right, I think that about does it. And if you have any last thoughts, there.
I'm all good on this end.
All right. So yeah, thanks for joining me as always every week. Great discussion on Battle of Jakku, on Skeleton Crew, on High Republic, Tales from the Occlusion Zone. There we go. I got it right. Where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on youtube.com/StarRaptor primarily, where I talk about Star Wars. I am branching out into other content this year, so stay tuned for what that may or may not be. And I'm also on Twitter for all your on the moment thoughts of different things from around the realm of pop culture. youtube.com/StarRaptor and twitter.com/StarRaptor. Thanks again. It's going to be another big one. I cannot wait till next week. This series. This is feeling like the end of Skeleton Crew or the end of any other Star Wars series for me. I'm hyped up to see how this thing comes to an end. It's just a freaking comic book, but that's okay because that's what we're doing here on Tractor Beam.
It's great medium. It's beautiful medium comic books. Outer Transitions. Say more about what you guys are up to there.
Oh yeah. So of course, we're going to be doing a long deep dive into episode 8 of Skeleton Crew, the finale, and talking about its ramifications on Star Wars going forward and its lasting impact on the franchise. So yeah, we'll be getting into that Sunday at 7 p.m. Eastern, right there on youtube.com/StarRaptor.
There we go. Yeah, check that out. You can also check out Chris's recaps of every comic book.
Oh yeah,
that comes out right there.
3:00. Yeah. So basically, the news with that is 3:00 on Wednesdays. So you kind of want a preview of what we're doing. It's more of a direct recap these days. Mm-hmm. So if you want a good recap, then you come back here for the discussion at 9:00. So there you go.
It's Eastern time, just letting you guys know. So yeah, you can check those out. Thanks to Marvel and Dark Horse for giving us those review copies, so we can actually plan those out and have them ready to go and have our thoughts ready to go live on YouTube here. Yeah, you can follow my personals, MNEUG1138. That's Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. Twitter is still NEUG485. Of course, Ion Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. It's Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and Ion Cannon on Blue Sky. Yeah, and then also, at Beaches Foodie, beaches.foodie. I did post something today. Posted a beautiful spicy chicken sandwich, Japanese chicken sandwich. There we go.
Oh,
still eating some karage chicken sandwich was great. So check that out. Also, Iron Cannon podcast. We're full swing in 2025. This past week talked about identity in Star Wars, kind of collective political identity, but also how individual characters relate to that. This coming week, we're talking about accessibility and breaking down different things about what that means, but primarily, how easy should it be for folks to get into a story? How challenging should that be? Your usual Iron Cannon deep dive that we do, asking these questions about what is Star Wars and what does it mean and all that. So check that out right here on the Underworld channel. Mondays, 5:30 p.m. Pacific, 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, check out the flagship tomorrow night right here, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Talking about Skeleton Crew, the finale there. So check that out. I know Iron Cannon, we will do a look back on the series as well. Just gotta sort of when, probably in a few weeks, but yeah, for now we're sticking to the normal run of things. Yeah, so check that out. Please do let us know what you thought of this episode to date. Give us a like and a follow. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And yeah, and then of course check out where is this? It's too far. Yeah, check out Battle of Jakku, number 4. Last Stand. Of course, check out the whole run. I recommend reading the whole run. But yeah, check that out. Go to your local comic book shop or check it on digital. But either way, you get your comics. Chris, it's been great. See you next week. Until then, happy reading.